Yeah, we're here,
quadratic
we're
drag.
yeah, the
You
quadratic
guys just solving for its like terminal velocity.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's
because
this
this equation
There's-
would be all part of having one thing, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to break it apart.
It's a big. Must have been.
All right.
I would say.
How are we doing over here?
I think there's a discrepancy with the book.
Oh, did I have an error in my previous
I
work?
think with that integral, because it's all the same up to this point. And then they have.
And what expression did I have? Can't remember. That's arctangent. U T. So we're good up to here, right? Yeah, and then that was the last, like, and I was in the big honking hurry. So I had to evaluate from 0 to V. No, hold on just a second. Hold on, where is? Oh no, you. The Jacobian here.
These are the expression for
is to- Oh no, we use. All right, we can just. No, I'm trying to. So I've got dx for 1 minus x squared. So in this case, our x is v over v naught.
But I
Or v over v
multiplied
term,
for
that's
it,
very
I
determinant.
multiplied
So
this
that's why that
by,
v term's out there.
2bt.
Because we did the 1 over v term and the v term.
So that way, when I integrated it, I could get ln dt squared to the v second.
And
So that seems kind of convoluted, but if you,
I have lost my
what you can do here is.
Yeah.
So I get
um,
arctangent
So.
of the
Instead of
argument.
everything
It's like that 1 minus.
by
Is
e,
it that?
so that's the expression I got after that. I could have totally made an error though, so. I was just using some
Oh,
stuff that I learned in
arctangent
differential
of
equations,
1.
sorry.
Oh, wait a second. Yeah, I don't think we need it either, but,
So it's okay to
yeah, just the arctangent of x.
isolate B.
Yeah, I was
V over
basically,
v dt.
Yeah.
All right, there's an error in the notes.
I was kind of using.
I
like a
was
partial
going
differential
super
equation.
fast. It was the end of lecture, and I apologize. I kind of remember being like, let's just go super fast. So,
I treated the.
oh yeah, it doesn't even, hold on. No, we're good. It's not even in agreement with my notes. So I'll just illustrate that it was just an error on my part because this is 1 minus x squared dx. And in order to do that, I had to multiply up front by my Jacobian. And looking in your book, that's arctangent of x, where x squared was this object over that. So it was just a brain fart on my part in that last moment of class. So let me go ahead and remind you, and I'll pull out my old notes and make the corrections. All right. So in terms of the notes from last time, this was 1 minus u squared du now, when I multiply by bt out front. What that gives you is arctangent of x, where x is not the argument of this. X is this object here's square root. So I don't need the 1 minus because I just need x, and I don't need squares either, do I? Let me look at my notes. So that's in better agreement with our inside cover of our book, which tells us that's just arctangent of x. All right? So now I take the tangent of both sides, and I get this on that side, and I get that on that side. And now let me make sure that it is in agreement with my personal notes. GT over V term, tangent. And, and I had a VT out front over here as well. So, I put it over there. VT, all right, so is it No, it's still. Oh no, it's okay. Isn't it, these weren't supposed to be squared? That's my error. All right, so let's get our final expression. V as a function of time for an object falling through a quadratic medium is the terminal velocity times tanh gt over v terminal. And now we have it as a function of time. Just remembering that tanh is e to the x minus e to the minus x over e to the x plus e to the minus x. That's a function of time that we can do. All right, so I apologize. So this will be our new starting point. I would like for you to solve for x as a function of time within your group.
Do I treat tan sub h any differently than just regular tangent?
You'll, yes.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I see.
And minus 0. What is that?
It was for me, and I'm trying to find the integral TH.
It's already up on the desk when I'm looking. How are we in here? You're skipping too many steps for me.
Oh, okay, so yeah, okay, so
Yeah.
I'm just doing
So this
separation.
is fine.
Yeah.
Putting this.
Yeah, but you're not supposed, you should substitute the
Yes.
x
Yeah,
for that. You're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Integrating.
That's-
Oh, yeah.
And then
I
just, yeah,
understand.
and then multiply both sides by dt. I think we're on the same page now. Okay. And then, but you're still gonna have to deal with your Jacobian on this side.
Yeah, so I'm.
Show your work. Just- Yeah, everybody's gonna wanna know how you did it, so. All right, so this is out of your memory, I think,
Yeah, that's.
because it's not, it's very close, but it's not quite. Take a look at the, just go ahead and take a look at the table.
Okay.
No. Right, you got tanh of u and you need du, so you're gonna have to
Okay.
multiply by Jacobian. Wait, even? 1/2 e to the x minus e to the y.
I never learned that. Yeah.
Well, okay, I can
I'll catch up on it,
introduce
don't worry.
Okay.
So it's yeah. So that's 0. So
See, now my confidence is shaking cash. It's all right. Make sure I got
well, the hyperbolic is 0. Well,
that's linear.
Okay, so that's gonna be because there's this term right here. And if we're gonna do u sub with this, make that u, we're gonna have to find b term in terms of u.
okay.
Does your author do an introduction of cosh and tanh and things like that? Huh?
No.
No.
He assumed knowledge.
That's not like him. I have to depend on my memory. That's not a good situation. But it is plus. Oh, it's plus. All right. Natural log. Oh, yes. Okay, so the cosh of 0 is 1/2 e to the x plus e to the minus x. So the cosh of 0 is 1, and the natural log of 1 is 0. That's why it's 0. So maybe we should do a little bit of an aside. Well, after we write out our answer. Are we ready to do our answer? Who's got an answer? Answer? Do you have an answer? Okay, then I'll give you a couple more minutes, but you need to get an answer. You've got 4 minds. Get them together and get an answer.
Where is that?
Huh?
Where you get that?
Oh, there it is.
I integrated.
So you read
I just
the,
integrated. You integrated, so it's a C.
what the, I want to know what kind of integration you're doing, because are we supposed to treat v of t as a constant?
That's how I know it. Because VT is a constant because on the outside, so I pulled it out.
See, and
But then when I was doing doing VT, it kind of like canceled out. And I had VT, so I do that. It's weird.
No. No, it's, well, I mean,
That's fine.
if you did that, it would just be dt. So
Okay,
then, yeah, if you multiplied that, it would just be dt.
so that was my answer.
So,
Just make sure I can use for
yeah.
that table, we're using the table? Okay, so our argument here is whatever is taking the cosh of, and that's what this has to be the increment of.
Which feature?
So L cosine H
How do you?
so that would be 0 and
Yeah.
v of t and v of t.
I'm sorry.
Well, we need to practice, like, after class,
Then it would be,
my advice would be to do the stuff that was done in class so that it gets to the point that you can turn over the paper and do it yourself. And then, because it's nothing new, except that you have to use the table in the front of your book, that is new. All right, who has an answer now? All right, anybody else? Jeremiah, don't you have an answer?
I think I do.
Oh, well, then raise your hand.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, all right, so one person in each group has an answer, and you've had a chance, has everybody had a chance to talk to the person in the group that has an answer? Person in the group with an answer, take a look at everybody else's work, and explain to them where they are.
See, I got on a sidetrack, like, I got to hear,
That's what's wrong with me.
So you divide.
which actually that's not necessary. But see, I did get to there, and then I was like, wait, should I be treating that as a constant? And that's when I got confused.
Divide.
Yeah, I kind of,
Term.
I was on the right track, but then I started to doubt myself.
yeah, I kind of, that's what I got like towards that point, and then I had gotten
Term
out.
of nine from this constant.
Like the DU was,
So they both
the
line
U I
terms
and
negative
the
g
G
squared over g. And so that takes care of the
I think if we just evaluated it, then you'd have it.
Because then when you plug it up,
The L
everything
cosine
is
h
zero.
right for I would put but it's that gt over v term because that was our u.
Okay, so you just need to make it okay.
And yeah, and once we the hyperbolic cosine of 0 is 1, right?
0.
Libby? The
Huh?
hyperbolic cosine
Yes.
of 0 is 1, but
It
then
is.
ln of 1 is 0,
Yeah.
That's correct.
which is 1. Okay. So yeah, so once you plug in 0 for t here, you have hyperbolic cosine of 0, which equals 1, and then you have ln of 1, and that's 0. So that's right at 0.
Okay,
Oh, I got it.
so that's our answer right there.
And then EP on the outside, right?
No, didn't it cancel out?
Jeremiah, can you walk over and check on Chris' line? Pat, did you look at, have you talked to Dakota and John yet?
I think.
It canceled out earlier though. When we did our V of U, it cancels out the V of T up front.
And then when you put it in,
I think we got
and then
it.
I just put
We'll
the
see.
DT, so that way it kind of makes it.
Why not?
Kind of cancel out the.
So am I the only girl in this class
And
now?
then
Yes, I think the others dropped.
That is
And then,
surprisingly awful.
No, it's not.
then if you plug
I'm
it
the
in,
only girl in
zero
methods as
with,
well.
with cosine
It's
H.
not awful.
or-
I just had a-
zero
I have never had another girl in a class with me until graduate school, and it wasn't.
But multiply together to equal zero.
I never had a female professor.
So then it would be
Yeah,
T.
I'm so
Got
glad
that
I
going
have
for you.
I don't know.
I was telling my husband, I was like,
But
I
you
don't
do,
know.
like, I know sometimes, like,
Looks so
the
good.
hard thing to do is the right thing to do, because there's that barrier where it's like room full of guys doing homework
Yeah,
together. You do have to pull your chair up and then start talking,
Yeah,
and then it'll be fun. That's the hard
I
part.
don't have any problem with that, cause like, I don't know, the other day I was in there and one of the students in this class was giving me shit that I'm like, I'm like usually 2 minutes late to first class, and I was like,
Oh, well,
I work 5 in the
no, it's
morning.
fine. That's between you and Fred. All right, I'm gonna go ahead. Who's got an answer right now? Raise your hand. You don't have an answer?
I'm not confident.
Well, it doesn't have to be a correct answer, just an answer. Anybody have an answer? All right, I've got more than half of you with answers. I'm going to go ahead and get started.
That's what I did, I didn't actually-
All right, so there were some questions about tanh, sinh, and cosh. So, because at this point we need to understand that we indeed do know velocity as a function of time. And we do. So, because, how do I say this? All right. Sinh is 1/2 e to the x minus e to the minus x. And cosh is 1/2 e to the x plus e to the minus x. And tanh is sinh over cosh, e to the x minus e to the minus x over e to the x plus e to the minus x. So those are just our defining statements for sinh, and by the way, the argument of these is sinh of x, cosh of x, tanh of x. So yes, we do know this function, okay? You guys okay with that? You could, if you don't like it in terms of tanh, you can write it in terms of this, where x is the argument, gt over v terminal, okay? And if you're wondering where that comes from, it comes from the idea of taking a sign of an imaginary number. I think I talked about that last time. So I think if you put, I guess I didn't tell you these things last time, but just to remind ourselves, I don't know if it's worth moving. I would say let's sort of leave it there. Combined with what we had last time, you can understand that this is the expression for sign of an imaginary number, where the sign of any number is e to the I times that number minus, or I should say e to the I theta is equal to sine theta plus I cosine theta. And if you think of e to the I times an imaginary number, then you get an e to the x, but you still have those expressions before, and you can solve those for that sign of the imaginary number, which is what we call sinh, okay? Let's see how well that sits, and if I need to do more math with that, I will. But for right now, I think this will be sufficient for today, so I'm going to move on for right now. Does everybody feel like they understand these functions? Okay. This is just a long thing to write out. We're calling it that. All right. So now what I need to do is I've got v as a function of time, which is time rate of change of location. And that's equal to v term tanh gt over vt. I'll multiply both sides by my dt. Boom, boom. I have to integrate from initial to final values. I'll go ahead and call t initial 0. So this has to go from initial to final value of its variable, so it will go from 0 to t. This has to go from initial final value of its variable, so it will go from x naught to x as a function of t, where we can choose our coordinate system such that x naught is 0. All right. So what I get on the left-hand side is x as a function of t minus 0. And on the right-hand side, I don't know how to do this. But I do know that my book tells me that the integral of tanh of u du is negative natural log of, that's not the right one, sorry. Where is tanh? Integral of tanh. There it is. Oh, it's natural log of cosh of u. All right? So our textbook tells us that the integral of tanh of u du is equal to natural log, I can't remember long enough, cosh of u. Cosh of u. All right? So that comes from the tables. That's very ugly, so I'm going to rewrite it. All right. Now, is t u?
No.
So is dt du? So what is du? How about this? What's u? GT over v terminal. So what is du? What's the increment of u? It's not dt. All right. That is the thing that everybody I saw who was stuck on. Multiplying by a Jacobian so that your dt, or whatever your variable is, becomes du. Do you guys all understand what I'm saying right now? That is the thing that the majority of this group is struggling with. So I need you to go home and do things like that until you can't see, because that needs to become muscle memory automatic, and it's actually, I'm such a hypocrite for saying that it's not hard because you just saw me make a ticky-tack error in our last lecture. But that part is something that, like, it's gonna keep coming. So you may as well master it now, and your whole life will be easier for the rest of the semester, okay, in the year. All right. It's kind of like when I was in second grade and I kept getting an F because we had this thing about what were the classifications in biology. And she gave the same quiz every single day until I got them right, which I thought was really good on her part. Kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. But the point is, I could do that too. And I will. So you're going to need to do that, all right? Get good at that. Easy points. Why not? All right. So now I'm ready. So on this side of the equal sign, I've got v terminal times the integral from 0 to t up to, it's just rustiness. Again, I would be the last one to really be able to complain too loud. I make mistakes, but. All right, then what I need to do is I can't just have dt because I need du, so I need g over v terminal here. Now I've got a du, but the only way that I can make that inequality is if I multiply by bt over g out front. All right, now I'm good because I've got tangent of u du. All right, but out front, so let me go ahead and write my expression now. All right, so now I've got tangent of u du integrated, and so the indefinite integral is natural log of cosh of gt over v term. I have to evaluate that from t equals 0 to t equals t. All right. V term squared over g, natural log of cosh gt over vt minus natural log of cosh of 0. Cosh of 0, e to the 0 plus e to the minus 0. E to the 0 is 1. So that gives me 2 times 1/2, which is 1. So cosh of 0 is 1, and the natural log of 1 is 0. There we go. All right. So we have now solved horizontal last time, and now vertical motion in quadratic medium. All right. So now we are going to move on to two-dimensional motion. I'm going to have to extend your homework due date till Wednesday because I didn't get to magnetism yet. All right. Yeah, and we can turn off the light now too. And this light shouldn't be on either. Let's get off there. All right. Is that better? Okay. All right. So, two-dimensional motion with quadratic drag. This is the most general case because motion will always remain in a plane that's defined by v initial and g. That contains those two vectors. So this is the most general case. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, like I often do in the most general case, I'm going to have a system that's initially moving, and if I make my coordinate system like so, x, y, I want it to initially be moving in a way that its x and y components are both positive. And that's because then I can, once I get this solution, it will hold generally regardless of signs on those components. All right, so now what I have for my free body diagram is I have mg down, and I have cv squared in the negative v hat direction. Newton's second gives me, that doesn't look right for me. Let me see if I can get it to focus. All right, so Newton's second, sum of x components of forces equals mass times x component of acceleration. Sum of y components of forces equals mass times y component of acceleration. All right, and the z direction gives me trivial 0 equals 0. All right, so x components. I've got minus, this guy's magnitude is cv squared. So I've got negative c, because I know its x component is going to be negative. And, all right, v squared times the cosine of theta. So on here, I'm just going to go ahead and draw. Theta is, I can draw it as this angle. It's actually the angle that the velocity is making with respect to the positive x direction. But as a result, it's also equal to this little angle right here. Okay? So cosine theta. And that is equal to max. In the y direction, I've got minus cv squared sine theta minus mg equals may. So that's what Newton's second is giving me. All right, now I just need to do math. All right, so on this guy, on this side here, I'm going to have minus cv squared. Now I notice that cosine theta is also equal to the x component of velocity divided by the magnitude of velocity. All right. And that'll be true not just at v naught, that will always be true. Are you guys all right with that? Okay. And that is equal to m vx time rate of change. All right. And then I've got minus cv squared sine theta, which will be vy over v, minus mg will be equal to m vy dot. All right. So I am going to solve this equation for vx dot and get it all alone, and this equation for vy dot. There's not much to do there. All right. VVX is what I'm seeing. And indeed it is going to give me a VVX, but I'm going to write it in terms of VX and VY, so I'm going to write it as the square root of VX squared plus VY squared, wherever I see V. Is that too many steps for one line? All right. And then on my right-hand side, I get Vy dot is equal to, I've got, divide by, so I've got negative G, doing the simple one first, minus C over M, VVY. And I'm going to write V again as a square root of Vx squared plus Vy squared, and Vy. Okay, so here I have, each of these equations has two unknowns, and they're not separable. They can't be detangled in a way that I'll get one equation, one unknown. All right? So what I have to do is solve this numerically. And yeah, you could use an existing code, but I would prefer that you were able to solve this numerically with Fortran, with just a code that you write in just any old language. So the way to do that is you have to make a stepping code, and you have to start from the beginning. So we will go ahead and let x, when t is equal to 0, be, we'll call it x naught. And vx, when t is equal to 0, let's call that vx naught, or v naught x, whichever one you want to call it. All right. Then acceleration, the x component of acceleration, which is the time rate of change of Vx, at t equals 0, is equal to, well, I'm not actually ready to do that. Doggone it. All right, I have to come over here and define some stuff in y in order for me to be able to write that out. So I'm also going to let y at t equals 0 be y naught. I'm going to let vy at t equals 0 be v naught y. Fine. Okay, so now ax I'm ready to write. Ax at t equals 0 is minus c over m times the square root of v naught x squared plus v naught y squared times v naught x. And ay at t equals 0 is negative g minus c over m v naught x squared plus v naught y squared quantity square root v naught y. So I've got my initial values. Now what I do is I say at a time, sometime later, that I can say is a very short amount of time, meaning these things won't change much. How about a millionth of a second? How about, yeah, microsecond? How about a microsecond? Doesn't matter, however much you want to do. Microsecond later, these things will not have changed very much. So a microsecond later, I will call that x at t equals 1 step. And whenever I write 1, I'm counting by steps, not seconds, where each step is a microsecond. Okay. So x at t equals 1 step will be equal to x naught plus v naught x times the step. I'm also going to let step be represented by delta t. All right? And vx when t is 1 step is going to be v naught x plus a naught x delta t. And a x at t equals 1 step is going to be equal to minus c over m square root of v at 1, so I'm going to call that v1x because it's at 1 step squared, plus v1y squared, v1x. Things that I just calculated up here. Now you might be saying, where'd that come from? Okay, simultaneously in my loop I will also be doing this. Y at, can I just call that y at 1 step? Y sub 1 is equal to y naught plus v naught delta t. V sub 1 is equal to v naught plus a sub naught delta t. And a sub 1, these are, yeah, a sub 1y, v sub 1y should be there. A sub 1y is equal to negative g minus c over m square root v1x squared plus v1y squared v1y. Those correspond to their values at 1 step. All right? So, x at the 2nd step, x2 is equal to x1 plus v1x delta t. I just calculated those up here. This is guy here, that's x1, that's v1x, that's a at step 1x. Do you guys see what I'm doing here? All right, so where is this thing going to be at time equals 2 microseconds? And what will its velocity be at time equals 2 microseconds? What will its time? Just go ahead and calculate them from the previous values because so little time has gone by that they won't have changed appreciably. All right, so, and v2x is v1x plus a1x delta t. And a2x is minus c over m square root of v2x squared plus v2y squared, v2x. Similarly, but before I calculate acceleration, by the way, I have to do all these x and v calculations. So y2 is equal to y1 plus V1y delta t. That's a 1, not a naught. V2y is equal to V1y plus A1y delta t. After I've calculated those, now I can calculate my accelerations because I need those velocities before I can do that. And I get A2y is equal to minus g minus c over m square root of V2x squared plus V2y squared V2y. So in each of these do loops, I'm doing for 1 equals to whatever I want it to be equal to, calculating x sub n, y sub n, v sub x sub n, v sub y sub n, and then a x sub n and a y sub n, and then move into my next loop and calculate the new. You guys see what I'm doing there? So it's fine to learn to do this with MathCAD, but you should also be able to do this with nothing. With C, with Fortran, with whatever's your language that you're most comfortable with, okay? It's a do loop. Just do it till at the time that you want, okay? Are there any questions about how to do that numerically? Logan, is it okay? You follow? It's really, it's easy, right? Like, is that easy? Jeremiah, is that easy?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's super easy.
Find out when I try it later.
Well, right, but I mean, you don't have to write the code. You get to just use, I mean, there are, some existing codes, but yeah, you should be able to someday do that. And then if you know initial location of an asteroid, you just do this and you know where it's going to be altered. All right, anyway, so I'm leaving the magnetic field stuff for next time. I apologize for the computer problem, and I also apologize for my algebra error at the end of last time, or calculus error at the end of last time. But we'll finish the magnetic field stuff next time. Your homework won't be due till Wednesday.
So you're saying this stuff is
Oh, let me turn off this so we're not mic'd. Hold on.